Hi friends, welcome back to our weekly Kids Spot. I'm Miss Hannah and you are right on time for week number 5 of our Right on Time series. So I have a question for you guys before we get into our Bible story. Has anyone had a strange dream before? Tell me about the strangest dream you've ever had by typing in the feed, or you can share with someone else in the room. I know that I have had several strange dreams. In fact, when I was little, I still remember a few strange dreams that I had. In one of them, I was being chased by lots of alligators. It was so weird. So during this series, we've been learning about a guy named who? If you said Joseph, you're right. I mentioned dreams because last week we heard about how God helped Joseph know what some dreams meant for 2 of his fellow prisoners. Let's look at Genesis chapter 41 today. We're going to focus on verses 14 through 42. This is 2 years later from where we left off last week in the series. The Pharaoh, who was kind of like the king of Egypt at the time, had strange dreams too, just like me and you. And Pharaoh knew his dreams meant something important. I don't think my dreams about alligators meant anything important. I just spent a lot of time in Florida as a kid, and there are lots of alligators there. But Pharaoh knew his dreams meant something important. And Joseph, who was a slave in prison at the time, if you remember, was really good at interpreting dreams. So Pharaoh sent for him immediately when he heard this. When he went to see Pharaoh, he said to Joseph, "I had a dream and no one can explain it. I hear that you can explain dreams." Joseph said, "I cannot do it, but God will give you the answer you need." Okay, friends, do me a favor and give me a thumbs up if you think Joseph was being humble by giving God the credit first. I definitely think Joseph was being humble by putting God first because he gave God the credit for what he could do instead of acting proud and important. This can be really hard to do sometimes. Pharaoh started explaining his dreams to Joseph. In the first dream, Pharaoh was standing at a river. Out of the river came 7 fat cows. I told you it was a strange dream. Do cows live in rivers? Of course not. They are not fish or river animals, but in the dream, 7 fat cows came from the river and ate grass. Then 7 really skinny cows came out of the river. What do you guys think happened to the cows next? Anyone have any guesses? Well, in Pharaoh's dream, the 7 skinny cows ate the 7 fat cows. This is getting weirder and crazier, isn't it? Then Pharaoh woke up. So in the next dream he had, there were 7 healthy stalks of grain and 7 dry stalks of grain. The dry stalks of grain swallowed up the healthy stalks of grain. Pharaoh was so confused. I would have been too, because those are some pretty strange dreams. Pharaoh wanted to understand what they meant. So with God's help, Joseph understood the dreams. Joseph told Pharaoh that both of his dreams actually meant the same thing. Joseph explained that God was showing Pharaoh what he was about to do through his dreams. According to the dreams, the 7 fat cows that there were in the dream meant there would be 7 years with plenty of food for everyone. Then the 7 skinny cows meant that there would be 7 years where no one had any food. Let's hold up 7 fingers so we can remember that number. Good job, boys and girls. So God gave Joseph an idea. Because there would be plenty of food for the first 7 years, Joseph had an idea and said they should save some of the food and store it up. Then they would have enough saved to eat during the years when there was no food. Pharaoh loved Joseph's idea. In fact, he loved it so much that he put Joseph in charge of storing food for all of Egypt. That's a big job, but Pharaoh could tell that Joseph was very wise and that God was with Joseph. Joseph had gone from being a slave in jail to being in charge of all of Egypt. I bet he was pretty happy about that. Joseph could have let it go to his head and brag to everyone about how powerful he was, but instead, he stayed humble. Joseph even left the fancy palace and started traveling all around Egypt. He worked hard collecting food so that others wouldn't starve when there was no food. Joseph was thinking of others more than he was thinking of himself. CLife friends, this is exactly what God wants for us too. Joseph used the power and privilege that God had given him to help others. Just like Joseph, we too can put others first. This is what it means to live humbly. We are going to say our memory verse together before we sign off for the day. And we are going to look more at the word humbly to make sure each of you know what it means for your lives. Let's read or say this together. The Lord has shown you what is good. He has told you what He requires of you. You must act with justice. You must love to show mercy, and you must be humble as you live in the sight of your God. Micah 6:8. So in the memory verse we just said together, Micah 6:8, it says in the last sentence, we must be humble by living in the sight of God. This part of our memory verse is what we've been talking about in today's story about Joseph. And it reminds us that we should think about what others want and need before we think about our own needs, just like he did when he was in charge of storing up the food. In other words, being humble just means putting others first. Again, friends, we can live humbly every day by looking around and seeing how we can do good things and serve in other people's lives. This verse is also a reminder where it says live humbly in the sight of God, that it's okay if no one else sees the good we do because God always sees and He matters the most. So let's say this together. Live humbly. Live humbly. That's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys have a great week and live humbly. I will see you next time.